There is a particular kind of comfortable arrogance buried inside the most popular stories we tell ourselves about alien civilizations crossing the stars. In film after film, in paperback after paperback, the narrative is always the same. Some sufficiently advanced species builds a large enough engine, burns a sufficiently exotic fuel, and simply accelerates past the cosmic speed limit as though the laws of physics were a suggestion posted on a highway, a gentle advisory that the truly clever might choose to ignore. This framing is not merely oversimplified. It is a fundamental misreading of what the universe actually is, and what it will and will not permit, not because nature is cruel or arbitrary, but because space-time itself is a geometric architecture of breathtaking rigidity, and no amount of intelligence or ambition purchases you an exemption from its structural logic. If an alien civilization has genuinely found a way to bridge the abyssal distances between star systems, they have not cheated physics. They have not discovered a loophole in the equations. What they have done is something far more vertiginous and far more demanding than any science fiction narrative has ever dared to seriously contemplate. They have executed an act of extraordinary precision engineering upon the cosmological structure itself, a mastery so profound that it would be entirely invisible to any civilization still measuring its understanding of the universe in centuries rather than millennia. Consider for a moment an analogy that begins to approximate the true nature of this achievement. Imagine our four-dimensional space-time continuum not as empty nothingness, but as an unimaginably vast, perfectly flat sheet of heavy, rigid silk, a fabric of inconceivable scale, stretching across a dark void in every direction simultaneously, a surface so large that its boundaries are not merely distant, but genuinely unreachable. A conventional traveler, any civilization that has not found a way, is like a microscopic insect forced to walk across this immense surface. Every step the insect takes is physically real and physically honest, but the distance between two threads on opposite sides of the fabric might as well be infinite on the timescale of any biological civilization. The insect walks. It walks for 1,000 generations. The destination thread does not grow meaningfully closer. But now consider a fundamentally different kind of actor. An intelligence that has found a way does not walk across the fabric. It does not build a faster insect, a more aerodynamic insect, or an insect powered by a more exotic chemical reaction. Instead, this intelligence possesses the terrifying mathematical precision and the equally terrifying raw energetic capacity to physically reach into the fabric itself, to pinch the heavy silk between 2 points, to compress and fold the sheet with immense force until two locations that were separated by impossible distances are brought into immediate, direct physical contact. The traveler simply steps across the microscopic crease in the folded fabric, and then the sheet relaxes. And the traveler is standing light years from where they began, not because they move faster than light, but because the distance between those two locations was temporarily, violently, and precisely reduced to nothing. This is not a metaphor, this is general relativity. This is the actual geometric logic of what space-time manipulation means, and it is worth sitting with the full weight of how terrifyingly demanding that act of folding actually is. In 1994, physicist Miguel Alcubierre derived a metric solution from Einstein's field equations that formalized what this folding might look like from the perspective of classical general relativity. The mathematics describes a configuration where the geometry of space itself is compressed ahead of a moving region while simultaneously being expanded behind it. The region between those compressions and expansions, a small bubble of locally flat space, rides this geometric wave without the matter inside ever locally exceeding the speed of light. The insect is not moving across the silk at all. The silk is moving around the insect. From the outside, the displacement happens at arbitrary speed. From inside the bubble, the physics of special relativity remains perfectly intact. This sounds, when described in those terms, almost elegant, almost achievable. And then you look at the thermodynamic price tag, and the elegant feeling evaporates instantly. Maintaining this warp metric is not a matter of powerful conventional energy. The Alcubierre solution requires a distribution of negative energy density threading the walls of the bubble, a requirement that the vacuum itself must be coaxed into a physical configuration where its energy falls below zero. The scale of this negative energy density that early calculations demanded was not merely enormous. It was equivalent to the total mass energy of a planetary body, an entire planet compressed into a region of negative energy to sustain the warp configuration around a spacecraft. More recent refinements of the mathematics have reduced this estimate through geometric optimizations, but the fundamental requirement has not vanished. It has only become a slightly smaller version of the physically catastrophic. You are still being asked to restructure the vacuum energy fields of the universe in a localized region, to force the quantum ground state of space itself to perform something it does not do naturally, and to hold that configuration with flawless precision for the duration of the transit. This is not a matter of building a bigger engine. This is a matter of becoming, in some functional sense, a sculptor of the vacuum. An intelligence that has mastered this has mastered something so foundational that our most advanced theoretical physics can barely describe it, let alone approach it experimentally. The geometry of space offers a second pathway into this problem, one that reaches even deeper into the architecture of the universe. The Einstein-Rosen bridge, first described mathematically by Einstein and Rosen in 1935, and later elaborated into what we now call a wormhole, is a geometric tunnel connecting two separate regions of spacetime through a shorter path that exists outside the ordinary three-dimensional manifold. The mathematics permits these structures. The field equations do not forbid them. They exist as legitimate solutions in the same theory that gave us black holes and gravitational waves, phenomena we have now directly detected, phenomena that were once considered merely theoretical curiosities. But the physical reality of traversable wormholes confronts you immediately with a problem of structural stability so severe that it functions almost as a prohibition. An Einstein-Rosen bridge, in its natural mathematical form, is not a stable tunnel. It is an extraordinarily brief geometric fluctuation, a throat that snaps shut faster than any physical object could traverse it, collapsing into a singularity at the moment standard matter attempts to pass through. The gravitational dynamics inside the throat are self-defeating. The presence of mass triggers the very collapse that mass was meant to traverse. An intelligence that has found a way through a wormhole has therefore solved a problem that sits directly at the intersection of quantum field theory and general relativity, a problem that our most sophisticated theoretical frameworks have not yet fully reconciled. They would need to maintain the throat against gravitational collapse by threading it with exotic matter configurations. Quantum field states that violate the classical energy conditions, holding open the geometric tunnel against crushing force through continuous, active, flawlessly precise quantum field manipulation. The wormhole transit is not a passive journey through a pre-existing tunnel. It is a real-time performance of quantum engineering on cosmological scales, sustained perfectly for every moment of the transit, with no margin for the slightest failure. Quantum entanglement adds another layer of extraordinary theoretical texture to this picture. The ER equals EPR conjecture, proposed by Maldacena and Susskind in 2013, suggests a profound geometric correspondence between the quantum entanglement of particles and the existence of microscopic Einstein-Rosen bridges connecting them. If this correspondence holds at the fundamental level, then the quantum entanglement structure woven through the fabric of spacetime is not merely a correlation between distant particles. It is the geometric glue, the low-level topological connectivity from which spacetime itself emerges. An intelligence that has truly found a way may have found it by learning to read and to write the entanglement structure of spacetime directly, to manipulate the quantum topological architecture of the vacuum at a level so foundational that the bridge between two star systems becomes a matter of reweaving the quantum geometry of the universe itself. There is a third pathway that operates on an even more expansive theoretical canvas. String theory and its higher dimensional extensions propose a cosmological structure in which our familiar three-dimensional space is not the totality of what exists geometrically. In the Randall-Sundrum brane world scenario and related frameworks, our entire observable universe is a three-dimensional membrane, a brane, floating inside a vast higher dimensional space called the bulk. The three spatial dimensions we inhabit, the dimensions through which all classical distances are measured, are not the complete geometric story. The bulk exists perpendicular to our membrane, extended in dimensions we cannot directly perceive because our physics, our particles, our forces are confined to the surface of our brain. The implications of this framework for a sufficiently advanced civilization are staggering. The distance between 2 points on the surface of our membrane, the distance that makes interstellar travel so catastrophically difficult when measured along our three-dimensional manifold, is not the only geometric relationship between those 2 points. Through the bulk, those same 2 points may be separated by a dramatically shorter coordinate distance. A civilization that has found a way through brane cosmology has not moved across our three-dimensional surface at all. It has stepped off our geometric plane entirely, entered the higher dimensional bulk, traversed a vastly shorter path through that extra-dimensional space, and re-entered our membrane at a location that appears, from within our three-dimensional perspective, to be impossibly far from the departure point. The classical notion of distance, the number that makes the nearest star seem 4 years away, even at the speed of light, becomes meaningless to an entity that has gained access to the full geometric coordinate system of the universe. This is the truth that the comfortable science fiction narrative consistently fails to communicate, not because the storytellers lack imagination, but because the actual physics demands a scale of comprehension that genuinely resists casual narrative. Finding a way is not a technological achievement in the ordinary sense of that phrase. It is not a matter of material science, of building a sturdier hull or a denser fuel. It is an act of profound physical understanding translated into physical action, a synthesis of quantum mechanics, general relativity, and higher dimensional geometry executed at energetic thresholds that would appear to us, from our current position in the development of physics, as indistinguishable from the raw restructuring of the universe itself. And here is what that realization actually does to the experience of standing under the night sky and looking at the stars. It does not reduce the distance. It does not make the universe smaller or more accessible or more forgiving. It makes the isolation more honest. The cosmic silence that surrounds us, the extraordinary absence of any confirmed contact, the vast darkness between the points of light is not evidence that no civilization has found a way. It is evidence of how genuinely, structurally, geometrically demanding the act of finding a way actually is. The mathematics of space-time manipulation does not promise accessibility. It promises the opposite. It tells you that the universe is built to separate, that distance is not merely an inconvenience, but a geometric consequence of how the fabric of reality is structured, and that overcoming it requires not cleverness, but a complete reordering of your relationship to the physical architecture of existence. There is something more honest and more magnificent in standing with the full weight of that understanding than in reaching for the comforting fiction that the stars are merely far away. The stars are not merely far away. The space between them is a structure. It has geometry, and that geometry has rules, and those rules are written in the language of tensors and quantum fields and higher dimensional manifolds, and they do not soften for anyone. The universe imposes. What would it mean to have earned the right to impose back? That question, held with genuine physical seriousness rather than dismissed with a convenient warp drive, is where the real wonder of the cosmos actually lives.